arising from closed session or matters arising. Only those matters that we went into closed session were the only ones discussed. And I apologize to the audience. The discussion took a little bit longer. But for politics, only being 15 minutes late, this is pretty good. I do have a motion moved by Don B. Marshall and seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of Council at 7:13 p.m. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Mark. Public meetings, we have none tonight, Mark? No? Very good. The consent agenda. Have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by John Eccles. Be it resolved that items A1 to C1 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted, and further that authorization be given for actions to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Is there any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Mark, if you can hand out those ones to take effect, the resolutions. Very good. And that brings us down to communications from Mayor and Council. Do we have any councillors that have any communications or updates at this time? I would like to say the Radio for Radiology, or Radiothon, I guess not for radiology, that was last year, the year before, but the Radiothon from CKNX was on the weekend. I had the privilege of being there in two capacities, as a director for Germania Insurance, one of our companies in West Grey, that donated $9,000, $1,000 to each of the hospitals that were in the fundraising mode. So there was 9,000, and while I was there, I don't know how many other of the municipal officials, but we did challenge the municipally elected officials out there. Phil Main gave me the opportunity to say that challenged, and I'm hoping that the warden picked up on that as an elected official and threw some money towards it. But I did hear yesterday that the tally was 582,000, with some more to come in. So it was just about the same as what it was last year. When the Untitled comes in, it'll be well over the 600,000 for our health care. So that was again very good. And that is about all I have to update. I'd like to thank any of the council members that represented me at any of the functions in the last couple of weeks. I know that you've done that well, so I appreciate that. Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
Just a reminder that the Newstead Recreation Committee will be putting on their fall craft show on November the 2nd, first Saturday in November. That's their largest fundraising activity of the year, so I encourage you to attend.
And of course the Lions Club Pork and Kraut dinner on the Sunday,
yeah,
from 4 to 7. And they usually have a lot of sauerkraut left over if anybody needs their fall portions filled up. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, we do have a number of delegations tonight, and I'm glad a lot of people are here to see how council works. I imagine that's why you're here, and the delegations are just part and parcel of that. But we do have the Warden of Grey County, Mr. McKinlay. Welcome this evening, Duncan, and the CEO, Lance. So
where would you like us to be?
There is a microphone over at the podium. You might have to, Vernon Dono will let you pass them there to get to the podium. The cameras are rolling, and we do have, there's a button there to make that microphone red, and when it goes red, Duncan, you'll be live.
That's great. Do I make it red, or do you?
You do. I can turn it off, but you can the one that can turn it on.
Oh,
there you
good.
go. There it is. Thank you very much, and
All right.
thank you for coming to this evening to
Well,
tell us what's happening at the county.
Yeah, thanks for your invitation, and it's, I imagine the public has another reason to be here, but it doesn't hurt to hear this, what we're going to do. So Lance Thurston is the CAO of the County of Grey, and I'm the Warden of County of Grey, and of course we work all the time with Mr. Bell and Mr. Eccles, who are county councillors. So a couple of things we're going to update you on in no particular order. One, it might be dear to West Grey, put into our collaborative efforts mechanism a request to look at some alternatives for library systems at Grey County, and I'd ask Mr. Thurston to bring us up to date on that. If I can get him through the wires
Don't
here.
destroy it here. So very quickly, I've met with the CAOs for the local municipalities and had a good discussion with them as to what the issues are from a municipal perspective. I've met with the CEOs and the board chairs of the various library boards across the county. Again, had a really good discussion, more just fact-finding, getting to know the people, getting to know the issues. And I've also had some discussions with the Southern Ontario Library Service or System, whatever the SOLS, which provides a lot of research and background information for library systems. So the whole intent is to be bringing a report up to county council, or sorry, committee in hopefully later November, early December. So that will, and what the intent is to give council a recommendation on whether to go further and do a more in-depth study on either a county-wide library system or a county-wide library card program. So it's really just a kicking the tire process right now, and then if council says, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, we'll go the next step and really get into it. So this is just me doing that preliminary review at this point.
Thanks, Lance. And that work is according to the recipe that we all kind of came to create for working through collaborative effort ideas. Any question on that? Okay, so then the other thing that's of importance to everybody across Grey County is the county has undertaken, at the direction of County Council, was to undertake a transportation master plan to review the long-term plan for transportation across Grey County, to look at alternatives, to look at things like, should we be making efforts to preserve our rail corridors? Should we be doing different things to make sure that we have good access to harbors, etc.? But also to look at our current road and bridge system and review to see whether it meets the needs of a regional road and bridge system. So as you may recall, the consultants brought a first draft of criteria of what they thought would make a, based on their initial consultations, and they went out to the community. They brought original criteria, what they thought would be a good sieve to put things through to see what came to be a county road system. And probably if they'd just mailed out those criteria, nobody would have even noticed. But we urged them to apply those criteria to the current county road system to see which ones would qualify and which ones wouldn't. That gave people a visual opportunity to consider the criteria more carefully, and we had a lot of good input from the municipalities and from the stakeholders, from trucking companies and transportation people, on some other ideas about what might really be the criteria for a county road system. The consultant is bringing that back to the steering committee on the Tuesday afternoon of the deer hunt, if you could believe it. And anyway, they're bringing that back to the committee, as well as some draft criteria on bridges across the county too, for there's quite a few bridges in the county that are not on county roads, but because of historical agreements the county has been maintaining. So that's upcoming, and there'll be lots of discussions before any actions are taken on that. I'm sure there'll be another round of discussions with the lower tier municipalities who'll be affected. I guess the only thing I would say is the discussions I've heard from people is that if roads or bridges were to be handed down, there has to be money or a certain status of road to be handed down. It has to be in good shape to be handed down. It can't be a dumping, because there's just no room in lower tier budgets in the near term for any more expenses. So that'll all have to be well discussed, and I'm sure there'll be lots of back and forth on that. But the bottom line is there is county-wide ratepayers, and probably the county should be providing a regional road system that meets regional needs, and local should be providing roads that meet local needs. It's just how to tell which is which. So the other thing we've been doing, seems at the county we're doing a lot of reviewing, but that's what you're supposed to do. County, as you know, is in the long-term care, what you used to call the nursing home business. And the county owns about a third of the long-term, well, over a third of the long-term care capacity in Grey County. So we have 300 and some out of 700 and some beds. And so there's been a task force committed to researching it, and they've come back with recommendations to county council saying, yes, we believe that we should stay in this business. And we are currently endeavoring to have talks with the Minister of Health to just understand what our place is in the business and how we might, we have one home particularly in, I guess it's here in Durham, that is ripe for redevelopment. But if you're going to redevelop, like any other redevelopment, you want to have it so that it better meets the needs of the community. And we have some ideas what the community might need as far as some specialized care, maybe a few more beds, but we have to discuss that with the Ministry of Health, because either them or the LIN or should be able to tell us whether or not we can get a few more beds or we can get some specialized services put in there. Durham's well located to create some specialized services because it's near to a lot of other population outside of Grey County. So I guess that's it for long-term care. You'll have heard a bit about, we do regular department reviews, and the one that has currently ongoing is the Transportation Services Review. So that's about the day-to-day operations of transportation, how we deploy our staff, how we do our scheduling, how much we do with our own staff, how much we do with contracts and so on. And we have changed things a bit. If you've been out and about around the county, you'll notice we're getting caught up on some maintenance that maybe we've set aside because we were always so busy doing construction. So we've tendered out more construction to contractors this year, and we've focused our own crew on maintenance. There's been road shoulder graveling done like we haven't done for years to get caught up. There's crews and contractors out clearing brush on roadsides, and we're doing laying those nice little strips of hot mix on roads to preserve the shoulder, the edge of the pavement, to get some more life out of the roads. The other thing we're doing, which not everybody agrees with or understands, is we're assessing the road. So if we've got a road that if you leave it alone another 3 years, you're going to have to rebuild it, but if you put some pavement on it now, we're putting pavement on it now, so it's good for 25 years. We may have a road somewhere that's in worse shape, but we know it has to be rebuilt, so it'll get a little worse next year and a little worse next year. We still got to rebuild it, but in the meantime, we're getting new skin on the ones that are savable so that we have less construction and rebuilding costs. Although there's more than one of us have got some phone calls about, well, that road was pretty good and you put pavement on it. It's just because you don't like us in this corner of the county that you're not doing our road, but that's not the real reason. And we have, of course, part of this, we have been doing things a bit different, and so we are entering into our collective agreement with some ideas about how we can work more efficiently with our staff. And I guess you'll have heard from the press that we haven't got a there's some challenges to those discussions, I guess, right now with CUPE. But anyways, I'm quite hopeful that if CUPE talks to its members, who are our neighbors and friends that work for the county, hopefully they'll say, let's get talking to county council and see what they really want and keep us working and keep the roads clear this winter. So that's what I'm hopeful to see. The other thing we're doing is we're having a review of the housing department. So a complete review of how we staff it, how we manage our social housing. We manage 1,300 or 1,400 units of social housing. The county owns some of them belong to nonprofits, but we manage them. And so we've just working through that review, and we've got some changes to procedures. We had a consultant in, they said, you're doing a pretty good job, but you asked us what could you do different, so we've got a list of things, and they were all sensible things to maybe gain some efficiencies and improve the services to our people. Budget. So, County Council has ordered that staff bring forth a budget of about a 1% increase for the November deliberations, and all committees have reviewed budgets that end up with an aggregate increase. Some of them are less than one, some of them more than one, of about 1.07 for discussion at County Council. And so the good thing about that is it leaves a little more tax room for the lower tiers, who are under probably more pressure than the county is, so that if they're planning on a 3% overall increase, if the county's just 1, they can have theirs 4 or 5. Oh, here's one of my favorite ones. As a warden, I'm a member of a group called the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, and that is, there's 16 counties west of Lake Simcoe, and 14 of them are in this group, and there's one more going to join back in. And so this group has no particular power except for to get together and brainstorm what are the priorities in Western Ontario. So several years ago, they identified a number of priorities, the first of which was economic development. How can we help businesses do better in Western Ontario? And they reviewed that, dug into it a bit, and they said, you know, we got half-decent roads here, we've got labor forces with skills. What we don't have that some other places have, and other places in North America, is real good ultra-high-speed broadband connections to serve businesses, to serve institutions, to serve education, and so on. So we mentioned that to the province of Ontario, and they give us a check and said, go tell us what you really need. And we have worked with, I think it's 22 internet providers. Everybody except for one monopoly that I won't name has worked with us to show what fiber optic cable they have in the ground. And we have a pretty good plan of what we need to do over a few years to bring ultra-high speed broadband to Western Ontario, kind of like the 401 of broadband, and then the providers would still bring it to your house, but where they hook onto would be way faster than what they hook onto now. And so the Western Ontario Wardens has suggested that we keep working. The Build Canada Fund will have an announcement in 2 weeks or by January, whichever comes first, and we are preparing to apply under that fund for federal funding, and then if we are successful there, then we'll look to provincial funding, and then there'll be some local funding that I always get in trouble for this, but if I would guess, the local funding would have to be about $10 a person for every man, woman, and child in Western Ontario for local funding, which doesn't sound like much until you say we have 92,000 people in Grey County, or 96,000, and do the math. Oh yeah, that's a bit. But anyway, that is so I'm pretty excited about this, and a lot of other people are. It's moving forward. It should be good for every business, whether they're on a back line or whether they're in Durham or whatever, that they can get information and send information as fast as most other places in the world, and like 10 to 100 times faster than you can now. So the other thing is SWEA, Southwest Economic Alliance, and Lance is on the board of SWEA, so I'll let him bring you an update on what SWEA is doing.
Just very quickly, SWIA has partnered with Cisco Systems and has done a benchmarking project using Grey County as the pilot, and this is tied into a bigger Southwestern Ontario initiative, and it's looking again at broadband, but then what do you do with the broadband? So once you get the infrastructure, how do you apply it to actually build capacity and build wealth and well-being within your communities? We've done a pilot project. The report is just about finished and it's going to be released shortly, which was an assessment of Grey County. What we have, what people say we need, and how do we then use that information to move forward with a bit of a strategy for getting the applications that will run on that new super high-speed broadband once we get it here across the county. The other issue that SWIA is working on is regional transportation. We met with Minister Murray at an AMO conference in August, had a really good discussion with him about regional transportation issues. SWIA is hosting a transportation symposium in London on November the 14th,
Yep.
At which they're going to be getting a whole bunch of people together to talk about what are the needs of the region, be it rail, be it passenger, commercial, whatever it is. Right now, there is no strategy for transportation within the region. We all know we have issues, and it's a matter now of trying to focus that interest and energy so that we can partner then with the province and with the federal government on developing some better strategies and better service within the region. So those are the two big ones at SWIA.
And that strategy, that isn't like a bus to every crossroads in Derby Township. But what it could be is some of the regulations they have that govern things like the commercial bus services are actually make it tough for them to serve some areas, make it tough for them to compete with each other or develop new territories. So part of it can be as simple as having a look at some of the rules that govern how things like bus service or taxi service work, and as well as looking at rails. You know, where's the rail service and how often, how many times a day, and stuff like that. So we don't have anything else to tell you that we know of, but we'd be glad to entertain questions, although we recognize that there must be something of interest after us that we don't want to hold too late.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Warden and Lance, for the update from County Council. I realize that you go around to all of the municipalities. I've had that opportunity a couple of times myself. And I say thank you very much, because sometimes there is that lack of up and down communication between the lower tiers and the upper tiers, and thank you for bringing that information. Is there any pressing questions at this point in time? Whether we can get a library book, or whether the road's going to be open to get to the library if we on the county roads. But
Road might be open, but maybe not the bridge.
Well, I was glad to hear that that the bus stops and the bus terminals in the northern part of Grey County may be staying open. That's going to be a good thing, but we could have more bus stops, whether it's in Elmwood or Newstead or Varney for that point, and we'll see how that goes on the transportation issues.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and you're, of course, are very welcome to stay to follow up with a couple of our other delegations around.
Thanks for that kind invite. I do have some other things to do in the morning and an hour's drive home, so much as I'd like to stay and enjoy the whole evening, I might just slip out. So.
Well, again, thank you, and have a safe trip back to the Ravenna. Okay. Our second delegation this evening is Bob Weirmeir. Bob, see, you go to, if you could, I would greatly appreciate that. And I believe you wanted to talk about the West Grey trailer permit or licensing bylaw. So I'll turn it over to you, Bob. Hit the, well, there should be a button on the right. You've hit it, that's the one.
That's the one.
Okay. All right. Good evening. Bob and I have come before you tonight with moral support from a number of the people in the room and a pile of people out in the hallway yet to present some of our concerns about Bylaw 33-2012, commonly known as the Camping Trailer Bylaw, and to discuss the information package which we recently made available to you, which was prepared by the Ontario Landowners Association research team. We will ask you to rescind this unpopular bylaw. We feel there are some moral concerns with this bylaw that need to be addressed. We've never seen a bylaw that caused such a stir in the community as this one has. Many people expressed their concern over the bylaw to us, feeling it to be an infringement on their right to utilize their properties. They were resentful of paying the $1,000 annual license fee, feeling it would cause economic hardship. Many people felt stressed and angry by this bylaw, which took away their happy places. They had enjoyed the reprieve from the demands of modern society, which their trailers offered them. Some people had to part with their trailers because they could not pay the licensing fee. This bylaw was passed by doing all 3 readings in one day, and while this is legal, we feel it isn't right because there's no time for public input. It went through before anybody knew what was happening. We feel if there had been public input, council may have seen how unpopular the bylaw was and may never have passed it. We feel there are also some legal concerns with this bylaw. There is nothing we could say on this matter that the information package doesn't already say. Perhaps we could just do a quick summary of it in case anyone has not read it yet. For anyone in council who has it in front of them there, I'm looking at page 5. There's one paragraph roughly in the middle of the page 5. I'm just going to pick out random thoughts here and there and let you read the rest of it on your own as you see fit. Throughout Ontario, certain municipalities are in the process of implementing or have implemented camping, trailer, and tent license bylaws, placing restrictions on private property and private persons. There is nothing in the Municipal Act that authorizes a council to enact these demands for licenses or permits for a person to have a trailer, tent, or to camp on their privately owned property. This type of licensing could be considered an indirect tax, which is illegal under Section 92.2 of the Constitution, and ultraviars of the municipalities as no new services are being provided by the municipality. If we can skip to page 6. At the top, this could lead to a municipality being sued and unable to actually afford the payment to the injured, placing the municipality into bankruptcy. For a municipal council to pass such a bylaw would be for that municipal council to violate sections 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14, 15, 17.1, 50 Part 3, 128 Parts 1 and 2, Part 4, Sections 150, 151, 152, 164, and 224 of the Municipal Act, Section 28 of the Planning Act, the Highway Traffic Act, the Letters Patent, the Constitution, also known as the British North America Act, 1867, the preamble of that, Section 92.2, 92.9, and 109, leaving municipal council and staff open to tort action under Section 48.2 of the Municipal Act. That's a mouthful. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm really not familiar with a lot of this stuff. This document was prepared by the research team of the Landowners Association, and it was checked by Terence Green, lawyer, one of Ontario's foremost property rights lawyers. He's with Green and Associates of Ottawa. If we could go to page 7. In conjunction with Section 4, Section 9 of the Municipal Act expresses that the municipalities only have the same rights, powers, privileges, and capacities of the natural person. It also expresses that they also only have the same authority as a natural person. A natural person cannot commit trespass onto another's private property. In the Criminal Code of Canada, this includes the trespass of creating bylaws that violate a private property owner's right to use his, her property as she sees fit. If we could could skip to page 9. Section 14 of the Municipal Act tells us that a bylaw is without effect to the extent of any conflict with a provincial or federal act, meaning that a provincial or federal law has priority over a municipal bylaw. And later on in the document, will show that this bylaw violates some of the federal and provincial acts on the books. Page 10, about in the middle of the page, section 50 of the Municipal Act, 50, that's 50, states that municipalities do not have the power to pass a bylaw establishing a system of permits for motor vehicles or trailers, as those terms are defined in the Highway Traffic Act. Under the Highway Traffic Act, a trailer and motor vehicle are defined as trailer, meaning a vehicle that is at any time drawn upon a highway by a motor vehicle. That would include a camping trailer. There could be some insurance issues as well. The municipality has suggested that all camping trailers in the municipality are parked illegally, but by licensing them, they will become legal. Apparently, an insurance company is not responsible for a policy if a municipality is engaged in allowing an unlawful act to be licensed and made lawful. Page 11, about in the middle of the page. It is only the federal government that can create criminal law. With an exemption and or licensing being allowed, this would mean that the municipality making camping illegal, and then with a tax for a license or permit, is allowing something that is unlawful to be made lawful, is beyond the authority of a municipality. It is also allowing the obtainer of such a license or permit to commit unlawful acts, as the license permit is exempting the licensee from the nuisance laws. If we could go to page 20. Here it suggests to us that every individual is equal before and under the law and has the right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law without discrimination. If municipalities do not create the exact same bylaws, meaning one municipality creating the same bylaws as their neighbor, they too are violating this section, as one person in one community cannot have any greater protection from the law or right to protection under the law than someone from another community. I'm missing something here. What am I missing? I don't have written down where that one is. I would suspect it's on page 19, but I'm having trouble placing it. Somewhere in the British North America Act, too, it details what municipalities can license. Maybe license isn't the right word, but anyway, camping trailers is not one of them.
Section 92, subsection 2.
Subsection 5.
Subsection 5. Thank you.
Back to the Municipal Act as well, Section 150 defines what types of licensed municipalities may create bylaws for. This entire section, including Section 164 on trailers, only pertains to businesses expressed under Section 92.9 of the BNA 1867, or for businesses supplying goods or services to the municipality. Down to the bottom of page 21. The authority to license is also limited through Section 92.9 of the British North America Act to shops, taverns, saloons, and auctioneers. I guess camping trailers hadn't been invented at that point. On page 25, the writers of this document ask some questions. The very top paragraph contains a number of interesting questions. Has anybody got that? You've all probably got it up on your computers. Yeah. There's also the issue that when a private property owner is told that they must apply or they will be charged under some bylaw or piece of legislation, is this a form of criminal breach of trust or breach of trust by a public officer on behalf of the municipal staff and council? Could this be considered an offense against the rights of property? Could this be considered public servant refusing to deliver property? Could this be considered property theft? Could this be considered fraudulent concealment? Could this be considered extortion and/or intimidation? Are these demands being presented under false pretenses? Is this obtaining execution of valuable security by fraud? Is this the commission of a fraud? These are all questions the residents, the council, and the staff should be asking as ownership of property is defined under the criminal code. Yeah, that kind of, we don't need to read that, I guess. Time-wise, I guess we should soon stop. There is much more in this report than we can cover here tonight. I would encourage you to read it and understand it if you've not already done so. In conclusion, I think we have demonstrated that there are many moral and legal reasons why this bylaw should not continue to be in effect in the municipality of West Grey. We would encourage council to rescind it. On a different topic entirely, while we are here, we'd like to thank council for their time and effort and expertise in the transferring of animal abuse investigations from the OSPCA to West Grey Police Service this past spring. West Grey Police Service is doing an excellent job of handling this area of the criminal code. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the, and it is an awful lot of legal action, and I certainly don't profess to be a lawyer either in trying to understand the intricacies of if this happens, to what does that happen, and how does it proceed down through. I do believe that there is still some, misconceptions or misinterpretation, maybe more than anything, of what council was trying to identify with the bylaw. We have found on a number of occasions that surplus or vacant property is the way that it is described. I'll use an example of a 30 or 40 acre parcel that is being taxed as vacant property. We became aware that there was some trailers that were parked on these properties on a full-time basis and being occupied, some of them for the most part on weekends or throughout the summer, vacation properties. And where it really became a problem for us was on two occasions these vacant properties, because there certainly was, that's how the tax were being paid on it, which is considerably less than any other type of residential property that has a house on it or anything, that we had calls for fire department to come and put out a fire on a vacant property, which caused some concern, but of course we did it. In talking with the police services, and Bev and myself sit on the police services board, we were getting a number of calls from break and enters onto vacant properties. So the question went, why are we responding to vacant properties other than there was a house trailer, a mobile home of some sort that had been placed on the property, had a lovely deck on it, not saying that anything was wrong with it, but it was still being, the payment to the municipality on the tax level was on vacant property. And I guess the fairness issue come into it was that a number of individuals from our urban centers to the south have purchased similar-sized properties, whether it be 30 or 40-acre properties, as a weekend escape, as you had indicated, to get away from the hassle or get out of town or get back to nature. And on that property, they have an older farmhouse, or maybe have even put a house on that property, and have covered off the idea of septage, and are paying a residential tax that when they put the garbage bag out, they're paying their part for that landfill. If the house was broken into while they were in the city for the week at work, their costs in residential are covering off their portion of the policing, of the fire, planning, and maybe even on one occasion where we had a call for service for Grey County's ambulance to show up at a vacant property because somebody was in the trailer and had a heart attack. But they were living there. In that was the idea of getting the fairness and equality. The individual across the road, as a resident, has put some money into it and has abided by the environmental issues, whether they have a septic system and everything. And then you have a trailer across the road that is the property being taxed at a vacant property, but being used probably more than the house across the road by the weekend residents. Were we maybe a little pushing ourselves to get too far ahead on this? Possibly, but that, just to give you some background, is what the trailer permit or licensing bylaw was trying to address. It had no indication of an individual that has a trailer, has the property and has the trailer out beside the house, and on the weekend wants to take it someplace. Those trailers were not identified by any of our bylaw enforcement or individuals in this program. But what we were trying to do was make it fair and equitable to the taxpayers that are out there that live here on a permanent basis or live here in a home on the weekend, that they weren't subsidizing the individual on the other side of the road that was living in a trailer and paying vacant property tax. We come up with it and did a number of studies and numbers. Where we correct, I think we come up with a very equitable, but you bring up some issues, whether we need to go back and look at it from a legal perspective. I understand the idea of licensing. We're not licensing trailers to be hauled up and down the road. The license was on these trailers that are put there on a permanent basis, and I think we all see a few of those in the neighborhoods, and you've got to recognize that 99% of them are living in these trailers on a weekend basis with, as I said, no revenue coming to the services that the municipality is offering for those weekend residents. What I will say is, I give you my word, we'll go back, take a look at the bylaw and review it. I think the warden had said that when he left, that there's a lot of review goes on, and it is something that farmers do every spring. They go over every piece of equipment. Just because it worked last fall or last spring doesn't mean that the corn planter, that the mice or something haven't got into it, that it's not going to work this spring. So you do that review, and I think at this point in time that's what we'll be doing. You've brought it to our attention, and appreciate that. And the other factor is, thank you for the compliment on the work that we've done with OSBCA, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions from council? No? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. and Ms. Weirmeir. Okay. So we'll be setting staff in place to take a review of that. Our next delegation is Jeanette, Mazur. There we are, Jeanette. Because we're videoed, can you take the podium and make your presentation, Jeanette? As I said, we do have it is videoed, and they have the sound system there so that everybody in the audience can hear. And I see the microphone's turned on there for you, Jeanette, so
Okay.
Jeanette wants to talk to us tonight about development and concerns along Park Street East in Durham. So,
Park Street and Albert Street, both, please.
okay.
Okay, as I've already written this out, some of the councilors might have it, but it was to the Council of West Grey that I wish to inform the council of an offensive and unfair situation that is occurring on Park Street East and Albert Street South. The road turning left off Park Street onto Albert was a dead end. Was this closed road opened by bylaw? And if so, I was not informed. Since the construction of Swan Bathroom Store, this road has been opened and used extensively. First by heavy construction trucks, now by transports, and as a roundabout. There has been considerable damage to my property as a result. The township snowplows last winter have plowed very close to my house, undermining the road, causing structural damage, tearing up the grass. I was in touch with township officials 5 times. The first time, a year ago, I was assured everything would be looked after. This road was not constructed for use by heavy trucks. Indeed, the sign at the corner prohibits its use for such. I would ask why the owner of the Swan property cannot exit on his own property, as he owns several adjoining properties. If this is not possible, I would ask that the township build a proper road with correct setback.
Okay, thank you, Jeanette. If there's anything else, I think I understand it. One thing that we're certainly, that this council has brought forward is our support for businesses developing in West Grey. Try to do all that we can to have those and have the stores and services available within the municipality. But with that caveat is to it that it must be done in a well-planned manner, that it doesn't affect the property rights or the individual's rights of enjoyment of their property. And I was down, toured through the property on Saturday. And I do believe that we have something to look at. You've brought it to our attention, and I see Ken has jotted down a few notes there, so it certainly is a public works issue, and we'll be further looking at it and seeing what we can do with the property owner to correct the problem.
Like I said, this has been brought before, and Mr. Gould has been notified of it. Your CEO was notified 3 times. The planner was told about it. I mean, how, and now I'm assured again that's going to be looked after, like.
I guess one of the things is if you, I've heard it on a number of occasions, if you need something done, you go to the top, so you've got to the top now.
I guess I should have started there.
I'll leave it at that. Probably the answer you're looking for there is yes.
Yes,
But,
I would realize that.
so you've got, I think you've certainly got council's attention on it, and we will be working with seeing that staff follows up with it for you.
And how soon? Hear from somebody again, or?
No, I think we will have a report back if it's not, and I know that Ken won't be able to give us anything by this committee of the whole, but there will be a committee of the whole meeting in November and we'll have the problem identified or the issues identified and what correctional matters are.
That place is a dead-end street, and I think the procedure for opening it up was never followed. And nobody ever said it was going to be a roundabout, which it is.
And absolutely, I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just because it was a dead-end street, there has been a number of streets that started out as dead ends, and as development happens, but we will find out whether the rules and regulations were followed on opening it up. Because as I said, yes, you can drive into Swan and go out the back end and right up Albert Street, right?
Would be Albert, yes.
Yes.
And even there's a big sign that says big trucks are prohibited on that street. So, and I believe that road is not the right place in the first place.
Well, that might be something that you question sometimes you don't want to ask, because I know we had one person, and I'll just warn you on that one. An individual said that the road wasn't in the right place. After the survey was done, we found that the house wasn't in the right place. It was on the road.
My house has been surveyed, so I'm not.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, I'll leave it with you and hopefully the.
Yes. I don't know whether we'll get total satisfaction, but we'll get answers for you. That's the best I can say.
That's right. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. We have one. It's a public meeting. Anybody can stay for as long as they want. I do understand that, yes, the mind can only absorb what the butt can stand, so. Very good. Thank you. We have one more delegation, Mr. Aitken, Jim Aikens and the West Grey Lions Club. It's going to be a tag team between Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Aitken, so I'll turn it over to you. Ron, the microphone, there's the switch on the right, and it'll turn red if you hit the right one.
Oh, how's that?
That's the one. You've got it.
I didn't realize the last person to walk in the door was going to be the spokesperson. I would have been here a lot earlier.
You're a lot adventurous. You've walked into worse spots, no doubt.
Anyways, I think everyone has a sheet before them. As you and your council are aware, the Durham Homecoming 2012 Committee and the West Grey Durham Lions Club was formed in a partnership for the purpose of creating a new cultural location. It was determined that the best structure to build would be a new bandshell pavilion in a quieter, safer, and more spacious location. Sunday evening concerts were begun and to support the homecoming of 2012 and continue to support the cultural life of the community. After considerable consultation, and I think we looked at about 5 different spots, the following location has been identified as the one which best suits the purpose. Assessment parcel, plot of land on Station Street between Lambton and Sadler Streets, which we understand belongs to the municipality. This location offers sufficient space for the audience, the performers, and the necessary parking. Further, it is across the road from the arena, thereby affording many opportunities for connected events. Please see the diagram outlining the proposed development, a financial outline which gives approximate costs and revenue sources is being developed, and we include in this a generous donation from the Homecoming Committee of 2012. We ask the Council to extend their help in this endeavor by partnering with us in designating the use of this land for the development of a pavilion. Pending your permission, we hope to apply for grant funding to aid in the landscaping of the area. Your earliest attention to this matter would be appreciated. We look forward to hearing from you, and then the committee listed below. The second page is a drawing of what we propose. The Sadler Street, the asphalt parking lot is a question mark where that's probably way down the road. But that is all grassed in the area right now, and it's maybe used a couple of times, I think, for the fall fairs and homecoming. Cars park in there. And if the T-Cats ever make it to the finals again, I'm sure there'll be cars parked in there. But on the, we plan on putting the band shell, there's kind of an elevated area where you can see where the line is, and the band shell would be put there. And we need a little bit of landscaping. The third page is the band shell that was built in Owen Sound last year. So that we're kind of looking at a format similar to that. But before we can proceed, we'd need approval from the committee, from the West Grey Council. I don't know if I can answer any questions. I can attempt, or I've got 4 gentlemen here that can answer any questions.
I think you hit it right on the head there, Ron. Yes, a good president defers, delegates. And I have seen you in that capacity, so you'll be okay. Any questions from council? Bev, Councillor Cutting, please.
Yeah, it says, see the diagram, blah, blah, blah. Then it says there's a financial outline, there's approximate cost, there's revenue sources, and there's a generous donation, but none of that's included in the package.
We have sent the proposal to our contractor, who's going to get an architectural drawing made up and priced out for us. But we don't want to spend money if we can't go ahead.
So the entire project, including the landscaping, upkeep, all that is going to be on this particular committee?
The upkeep now will be just on the building. It's already kept up by the town as far as the grass being cut.
Yeah, but you've got landscaping and everything on here, so now we're talking Parks Committee, so...
We did mention that we hope to approach with your partnership to get a trillion grant to do that. They do cover landscaping of that type of building.
And so then it would be upkept by your committee?
We were thinking of just upkeeping the building as far as refreshing the finish on the posts and things like that.
So you're asking council basically to designate this area as a park?
Basically, yes.
Okay.
I think there's enough money from the homecoming. The surplus of that will take care of the building and the structure and the construction of it. So that we're just looking at, first of all, getting approval. And then if we can get this grant, which we're looking into, to make sure it's wheelchair accessible and everything else that according to the regulations.
So then you're asking council to do the landscaping around this to make it a park, or you just want the band shell there on grass?
Whatever landscaping we can get funded for, we'll do. So we're not looking at a flower bed as such. It'd be, small shrubs, that type of thing, with some trees and provide some shade.
Okay, Bev? Any other questions? Carol? Councillor
Well, I
Lawrence?
just wondered, this would obviously have power to it. So you'd be looking at that becoming part of West Grey's obligation to pay the hydro and
Basically, the
over
power would
the
be
maintenance.
a street light. And I'm suggesting that maybe go with solar type light. Because you're only going to need it at certain times, and that is so the rowdies go to bed type thing. We also need some power for the outlets for musical instruments and things like that. There is lights in the pavilion. I think there's 8 or 9 pot lights, and that was all in the ceiling of the building that we looked at.
Any more questions? Deputy Mayor Bell. John?
Yeah, real quickly, Jim, do you know the dimensions of the building? The one in Old Sound?
With the ramp and believe it's about 5 feet on the right-hand side.
Okay, so roughly about 600 square feet. Thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, it's pretty similar to the one that's at the band shelter that's at Grey Roots as well, too?
I haven't seen that.
I think the one at Grey Roots is octagon or
It's an
6 or 8.
octagon. It is an octagon,
It's
but
more expensive to build, I think.
Okay. Any other questions? Don, Councilor Marshall.
If the building is vandalized, who picks up that charge, the cost? And I say that we have an $80,000 washroom over Newstead that West Grey is now picking up the tab for replacing toilets, and which is, I think, extensive, that cost.
There will be no wires in this. The pot lights are received well into the ceiling. The only thing that's exposed is the plugs for the power. They don't have to be. With a little bit of ingenuity, you could bury them.
On sounds panel too it's in one of the areas that they have trouble downtown. And it's an iron panel, like it's a steel panel, it's like a bank vault. And I would assume that we'd quite like to do the same thing.
Yes, again, the kids ripped the lattice off the structures downtown, the gazebos downtown, they ripped the lattice off. They just spray paint it, they punch the, if there's soffit on it, they punch the soffit up into the, and
From the one I've seen, if they're going to punch it, they better use a sledgehammer.
Don't offer them any suggestions.
In your extensive experience with children, Mr. Aitken, at the school level, you should be able to devise something that would be reasonably kid-proof, shall we say.
With vandals is you could push a motion sensor camera with a digital feedback to someplace. And it'd be back to somebody's computer, and the camera only comes on when there's motion in the area. And you could relegate the times when you want it on, you could run it 24/7. It doesn't use up much space in the computer, but it's possible to do that very easily.
Okay, Rob, Councilor Thompson.
Yeah, I chatted with a couple of your members back, I guess, after we donated the money from homecoming and so on. We discussed this, and it was a problem getting a location within the municipality. This is a good location, and it's, I guess, the same as what we did at the conservation park when we took over the washrooms up there. They put hydro poles in, put a couple street lights on. Been no problem. So I mean, we've had a little incident there this fall inside, but I mean, things are going to happen. I mean, if we have it well lit up, it's there's enough people in that area with Durham furniture and so on. And but that'd be my, without measuring your diagram, your mapping, as long as we're not encroaching onto Durham Furniture's parking area, you know, I think it's a positive way of going.
We left the buffers only go to 40 feet, but I understand that's all town property too, unless it's changed hands recently.
It's town property, but Durham Furniture has a lease on it.
Yeah, so we just stay away from that.
Yeah. Councilor Lawrence, Carol?
Thank you. I wonder if we can defer a decision on this till we have some time to go look at the area and maybe talk about it next Monday at Committee of the Whole. I'd much rather get a visual on it than just a drawn picture and give it some thought.
I think, considering what the weather is out there right now, I doubt very much if these 5 guys are going to be putting many shingles on.
Not likely, no.
I guess that does the question. We're kind of looking for something for next spring into the summer season in 2014, but
Actually,
what you're looking,
if approvals are given, the only problem with that is if we want to be ready for the people that run the concert right off the bat, and as long as it doesn't freeze, putting the cement in is no big deal. And, we can still do it this fall yet, even if you got a month from now, we can still do it. It's not a high price bill for anything.
No. Okay. I'm going to take Councillor. You've got the microphone on. Go ahead, John.
Oh, just real quick, if I'm not mistaken, the next round of Trillium, you have to apply, is it by the 1st of December? 1st of November.
I think we're too late for this year. We got it for next year.
We're looking at the next one, which is, I think,
I
March.
think
or
the
April.
next entry is March, if I'm
think
not
so.
mistaken.
Well, it has to be built before that.
Pardon?
It has to be built before we apply for the landscaping grant. From what I understand.
Yeah, I think we get quite enough. Doesn't mean.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Give your expertise on that.
The sooner we get approval, the sooner we can proceed. I mean,
Start.
that's what we're really going to be doing.
Then we plan on using the local contractors, so they can use the business they follow.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Eccles. John?
I'm not going to call it a program, but this whole thing has been a great success in our downtown. I don't think that we can keep the thought of vandals from letting us proceed and continue on with a program that's working so well. I'm 100% for this, and I applaud you guys for going forward with it.
Further, Bev?
Just to clarify, it wasn't the thought of vandals, it was who was going to do the upkeep on the property when the vandals hit. That was more the...
I don't know what that really means to us, and the fact that we've spent more time thinking about who's going to tear the thing down and rip, what's that say about our society, than we are building the thing.
Scary.
Yeah. Bit of how you get the community to take ownership of it, and I'm meaning that from somebody that's 6 months old to somebody that's 96 years old. And I know that there was those types of individuals that were at the concerts all throughout the summer. It's been a very good thing for the community. Well received. Any other comments? There was one comment about having a number of council members want to go and be able to take a look at it. We do have a committee of the whole meeting on Monday. That would give us a bit of time to find out what kind of do some of the dimension work as well too on the property. Has there been any approach to the landowners,
Yeah, the neighbors.
the neighbors in the area at this point in time?
Yours first.
Maybe we need, I'd hate to say that it was the landowners would already feel that it was a done deal before they had their input on the court. That's why I'm hesitating, can there be some connection with some of the landowners?
It's correct, and we use the tape and the measurements off of Google. You may have a problem on your landowner, on your property anyway.
I think that we talked about Mrs. Mazur, the last delegate. That might have been some of my comments. Yeah? There's some of that there. You
Plan on using that power over, which going to play with the property as it is.
Yeah. Mr. Rapke's been quiet, so Mark, go ahead.
I'm just, I'm not quite sure exactly what you're asking council for. That's the part, I like the idea and everything, I'm just not exactly sure. What is it you're requesting from us? Just
We cannot
help
put
there.
a building on your property without your permission, basically.
And that's really, so you're not looking, we were talking, it talks about partnering and things, so I just, are you looking for any funding, or are you just looking for approval to put the building according to what you've got in that drawing?
Basically, we're looking for general taxation to pay the street lights and any power that's consumed by the upkeep of the building. We talked about it slightly, and we're willing to use our Alliance members to keep the building in tip-top shape. Yes,
So you're looking for approval to put the structure, and then for the municipality to kind of do the post-maintenance? Is that, you guys will do that?
We would look after at least the painting of post maintenance as such, but there's very little, as you can see, there's very little with the upkeep on it. Most of it is covered, except for the 8x8 posts and the pillars of posts and bracers.
Well, yeah, so that's just, I just wanted to get a good handle, like, I like the idea, I just wasn't sure exactly what you were, you were asking. So you want approval for the structure, and then you guys are gonna maintain it after? Did I get that right? That's all I'm asking. Yeah, okay. All right, thanks.
I'm not so certain we're given as much given approval for the structure as we are, given approval of using the land and going forward, because there will be a building permit needed and a lot of other issues, but I think what the group was looking for is council amenable to, thank you, using some of our open space land to put the project on. Carol?
This,
Councillor
though,
Lawrence?
would have to come under our insurance, would it not? I mean, it's on our land, it would, because it's on our land, it would be property of West Grey. There's the liability issue, would have to be under our insurance. We would be responsible, I take it, for the hydro costs. And you mentioned grass cutting, which we don't cut grass in there right now, so. Well, not as a park.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we keep it,
So-so.
yeah, it's not lawn cutting that we're doing.
Exactly.
Such as this or at some of the other parks right now.
But this
I
would
think it's once a
require-
month that we keep the grass clipped down.
This would
Clipped.
require care, though, like we do our other parks, if you're gonna have people there every Sunday.
Well, yeah, and I'm not sure what area that would encompass either. I don't think it would be the whole thing, but you get 200 or 300 people there at these concerts, it probably would be the whole thing.
Tell them to bring their sheep.
I can't imagine that some of them aren't riding in on horses, Bev.
That's even better.
Don? Councillor Marshall?
Is it an opportunity that the Lions Club would lease the land?
I would say no.
Because they don't want the ongoing maintenance cost.
The ongoing maintenance is cutting the grass, paying electricity. There's bigger problems on a piece of property than just cutting the grass and getting it down to it. You have a drainage problem over there that nobody's noticed.
John? Councillor Eccles?
Well, we already have music in the band shell downtown. I don't see how we have any increased liability on our insurance because we're already doing it. We're just moving it from one place to the other. We already supply the electricity for the band shell that's downtown. We're just moving it to the arena. I don't see where all these issues are coming from. I don't know if I'm seeing something wrong here or not seeing something, but we're just taking this activity from here and we're moving it over there. It's a good thing. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
More room to park. In passing discussions, we would have to pay to put the hydro in. That's just part of the construction. So the most amplifiers probably run 15 amps of power. And from what I've seen over there, you might have 3 or 4 tops for an hour and a half a week. And the street budget to be covered under general taxation anyway. Probably.
They haven't been area rated for quite a while. Carol?
What other activities do you envision? You're surely not building this just for Sunday night concerts because they may or may not carry on for a few years. You must have other ideas that would be used for?
We never approached that. Our thing was the homecoming wanted something that they would remembered by 2012, and the band shell idea was the one that came to the top. So that's what we're pursuing. But as for other ideas, I can see if somebody wanted to help hold a small picnic in the area, that's fine. want to have a small anniversary party in the area in a park like setting, that'd be fine. Whatever.
Mark?
I just want, that just popped into my mind. So you got, let's say we go ahead and do this and the facility's there, then who would determine who uses it? Like what if you're having a concert and someone else wanted to have a concert on the same night? Just like how would it be booked? I guess that's just something popped into my head. I didn't know if you thought that. Yeah, so it'd be something, I think we would just cover it under the regular.
If we're insuring it, we would book
and we would just kind of coordinate all that, like all the other stuff.
It'd be booked through the municipality.
Okay, perfect.
Same as the gazebo down at Vickers Park.
Same thing, yeah, okay.
Be our park facility. Okay. I'm wondering, is the best thing we will look at, I'm kind of getting the vibe here that everybody's agreeable and amenable to it. And there needs to be some work done, and these want to find out whether these 5 gentlemen, as well as the other 55 Lions Club members, are probably wondering, is council amenable to it? Can we say that, you know, given some more definite information coming forward at us on next Monday at Committee of the Whole, we would certainly entertain that gives you, or are we just going to say no and we don't want to hear about it? Go away and come back again? I think I'm reading it, we're amenable to it, let's get the information so that we can make a decision on it. Correct? Yep, next Monday. All right. I guess one of the things that I would like to see is it possible for your group to do a bit of an informal survey of the neighborhood? Because I can almost see that we're going to need a public meeting at some point on this, if it's a change in use in their backyard.
Fence now is situated in such a way that if the amplifiers are pointed straight out, you probably wouldn't interfere with hardly anybody. It's aimed at over top of the open property.
Okay, we good with that? Gord, you got any?
That's what we have to get back to you with?
Yeah, by Monday, you know, just type of a survey of the acceptance of it in the neighborhood, you know. And I'm gonna throw one out. We're trying to figure out, you know, that venue or that demographic group. Maybe if they had ownership, maybe there's a Friday night. And not as much fiddles as it is maybe a couple of guitars, that there's a different demographic that wants to use it on that type of a night. I don't know, you know. And I would think that the noise level would be considerably less if they used air guitars. Okay?
Totally different demographic.
Well, you'd be amazed at how far that would cover off. One last thing, Jim.
We're not sure, and we couldn't find a map to download to see how far it extends over that way. But I think if the height of the floodplain meets the pavilion as such, you lose temperament.
Yes. The other thing is, it's not on, I'm going out on a limb here of saying Mark and give me a kick if I'm going too far, but it's not for permanent public occupancy type of thing. So probably conservation will want to, but with this, we have the same thing in Newstead, the pavilion there, and that was very amenable and agreeable there. So I can't see that this one would be any different than that. If it was for public occupancy, absolutely, then we'd have to go through a whole lot more channels, but this one I doubt if we will. And you're right, you know, there is that issue there on the water, storm water. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. You did an excellent job of being there and never turning the microphone on. You started to... Okay, Council. Does council want to take a, yep, I can see Mark. I guess council wants to take about a 5-minute break and then we'll come back with staff reports. Okay? And I don't believe that, well, sorry, business arising from the previous meeting, and I don't believe there was anything there. We do have Carrie is with us, and the first one, we'll start with the Director of Finance Treasurer report. And the first one is the approval of the accounts. Voucher number 19, 2013, that's there. So before I say anything, Carrie, do you have, yes, because the number that's on the agenda and the number that's on this resolution don't match. It's nice, they've gone down. Tell us what it is.
The Normanby Arena Hydro, that invoice has been canceled and will be reissued using the actual reads. They had a meter change there, so they were using some estimates, and we've been in contact with Hydro One, so they're canceling that invoice for the Normanby Arena, so that's $5,085.67. So the approval will be $475,044.93 is the revised amount, because they will reissue the hydro bill in the future for actual.
For the actuals, okay. Any other questions on the accounts before I introduce a motion to accept? We've had them in our package. Other than that one, everybody's happy? I have a motion moved by John Eccles and seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 19, 2013 of the Municipality of West Grey in the amount of $475,044.93. Any questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Carrie, your second report is on the small, rural, and northern municipal infrastructure capital program that the feds announced a couple of weeks ago. And you have a recommendation here. Do you want to expand on it anymore?
Yeah, it's basically, this is the reincarnation of the MIII previous program that we submitted. So this is the same, applying for the same project, the Durham Well 2A. The categories that are eligible are the same, concerns public health, and it's a road, bridge, water, or wastewater project. The funding allotments are the same. So we were going to, we're requesting approval to resubmit. They did note that unsuccessful applications under the MIII could be resubmitted under this. We did make it through the initial expression of interest phase last time, but and we were able to submit an application, but we did not get approved. So we are hopeful that we would again make it through the expression of interest and hopefully further get a further approval on it.
And just to that end, we have done some work on that, Ken. The well, the test well was drilled and was very satisfactory, and we're looking at step testing coming up this week or next week.
Yes,
Any
they're
update on
actually involved with the step test here. Started this afternoon, but I have no update on it. But the initial volume of water was certainly very favorable. So.
And the quality was excellent as well, too.
The quality was excellent, too, yes.
As it has been from the well that's there as well, too.
Correct, yeah.
Good. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts on this? So Carrie's made the recommendation for that be our priority under this small, rural, and northern. No other questions. I have a motion moved by Mark Rapke and second by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the submission of a small, rural, and northern municipal infrastructure fund. SMRF is how the acronym's going on that one. Capital program, expression of interest. We may have to ask our MPP about that one, or our MP, I'm sorry. expression of interest for up to 80% grant for the construction of a new Durham water supply well 2A and associated works at an estimated total cost of $750,000. And further, the council certifies that the information contained in the SRNMIF capital program expression of interest for the new Durham water supply well 2A project is factual and accurate. And further, that the municipality of West Grey is committed to developing a comprehensive asset management plan that includes all of the information and analysis described in Building Together, a guide for municipal asset management plans by December 31st, 2013. And further, that a comprehensive asset management plan will be publicly available. And further, that the Durham water supply well 2A project put forward in this application will be completed by December 31st, 2015. Any questions or comments on the motion? How accurate are our engineers on the estimated cost?
We submitted that, the last one, January of this year, so
Yeah.
hopefully it hasn't changed a whole lot.
Okay.
We haven't made any modifications. I believe the date, it can go back to April if we do get approved. So our step testing may be eligible, and the drilling costs, which we had originally budgeted for before.
Okay. Any other questions of Carrie or on the motion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. One other one here of our Christmas holiday closure hours. Is there any questions? It's pretty much laid out there. It's kind of scary. Thinking of Christmas here. Do you know where that beard is there, Santa?
Oh, I do.
Okay. There's no questions of carry. I have a motion moved by Don B. Marshall and seconded by John Eccles. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the closure of the West Grey municipal offices on Tuesday, December 24th, 2013 at noon, and Friday, December 27th, 2013. Was that one at noon as well too? Or just all day? Very good. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Yeah, no Grinches. Bev?
A little late. So that means that then for New Year's Day, you're here all day till 5? Yes, you're here till 5 and just 4, and then closed January 1st back the, okay.
Yeah, just the one, what is that, Wednesday or
Yeah.
Tuesday or something? New Year's Day would fall.
Wednesday is New Year's Day.
So we'd be open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. And the other one on there, F4, is council remuneration for information. Any questions on that? Any questions further for Carrie? Anything else that you want to report on, Carrie?
Yes.
I thought maybe there, no, there's no thought. I know there is. Carrie has one addendum item here. So go ahead, Carrie, give us an update.
We've met with the, I don't know if you want to call it the library building committee or with the architect and some of the one of the tenderers that had submitted a request for a proposal. The project for the library, originally we had budgeted $450,000, and it has come in, the preliminary estimates are $550,000 to $600,000. So we're looking, these are based on preliminary concept drawings, so there's a lot of, not definite items in there, but that's what Nelson Dolly sat in on the meeting with us, with the builder and the architect as well. And so he's still thinking that the 550 to 6 is probably where we're going to end up for totals. So we need direction whether to continue or what can, because we need additional funds from council. We budgeted $450 for the project. We received a grant under the CIIF of $150,000, which was originally a third of our estimated project cost for the phase 1, the elevator and accessible washroom portion. So just looking for direction on that.
Councillor Lawrence, Carol?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if each councillor could receive a copy, Carrie could email it out to everybody, this copy from Nelson Dolly. I believe at the meetings there was Steve Field from our building committee, yourself, Mr. Mayor, and Mark and Carrie and Nelson and the architect, yeah. So you're aware of the conversation that went on, Mr. Mayor, but I wonder if we could have these sent out to everyone and have this placed on the agenda to discuss the whole issue at Committee of the Whole. We need to talk about not only this, do we go ahead or do we not? If we don't, what are other options? You know, what do we do? If we don't do this, we obviously have to do something with that building, if that's where we stay, or there may be other options. I know Councillor Eccles has mentioned he'd rather see us build something or have somebody build something for us. So I just wonder, this doesn't give us a forum here to talk about it tonight. I wonder if we could, as you said, have this sent out to everybody. You can absorb what's in there and give it some thought, and then have a discussion around the whole issue of library. What do we do with the building, or if we do something else, if that would be possible.
Mark? Councillor Rapke?
So I think we should have a discussion, but I think the more immediate question that Carrie has is, do we continue with the project that we're engaged in? And I don't think we should.
Well,
we haven't even started, and we're way over budget, and we just don't have the money.
Well, Councillor Rapke, that's exactly what I'm asking, that we talk about this whole issue, whether we go ahead or whether we don't. And if we don't, then okay, what other options do we have? But we need to make that decision and make it soon, because if we do go ahead, we have to do it right away. We have to be done by March. If we don't, then we have to look at some other options. And I don't think we can let the grant drive this whole thing, though. It's a small portion, though, of where we're at maybe 550. So I just like an opportunity for us to have a discussion on it and the ramifications if we don't do it. Okay, where are we, and what are we going to do, and from here on in. And rather than make a snap decision tonight, I'd like everyone to read this, to think about it, and is it worthwhile going ahead? Is it not? If it's not, then okay, fine. What's our next, step? What do we do? Right? It's certainly a lot more than what we had anticipated, and when you go per square foot, it's a lot of money. But that's the kind of discussion we need to have.
Okay, fair enough. Is there a chance, Carrie, of kind of putting that information together and having it available for council and having it on the Committee of the Whole for next Monday? And the direction at that point in time would be, we'll make the decision whether we go ahead or whether we cancel the project and look at and go forward with other options. And at that point, yeah, I know we have Steve here who has been, Mr. Field's been heavily involved with it, but we also have engaged Nelson Dolly to be doing some work with us. And would Monday, is there a chance we could have Nelson here to give some of his construction expertise as well on it and make an informed decision? Okay, Councillor Marshall. Don?
I guess I would just like to know what we're going to discuss on Monday. We already have the figures that it's going to come in between 550 and 600,000. We all know that tonight. So we could make a decision on the project going ahead or not tonight, and then we could discuss on Monday what our options are going forward.
I just,
Yep,
you
Carol?
well, first of all, you've not even seen the report and the analysis of the RFPs. I think we need to finish that process, to be fair. I don't think it's acting in the proper manner if we just make a snap decision tonight. I am of the opinion, like whichever way it goes, whatever council decides, that's fine. But I think we need a thorough discussion, and you need to know, or, you know, have some thoughts. If we don't do this, what do we do? Where do we go? And I think a week is not going to make that much difference. But it gives everybody a chance to absorb what's been done and finish the process we started.
Councillor Thompson, Rob?
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to read that report myself before we make any final decisions.
Councillor Rapke? Mark?
I think we said this at the last council meeting, that we were going to talk about it tonight, and we were having it reviewed by someone like Nelson, Dolly. It's come back that we're still way high. I'm kind of with Councillor Marshall. I don't know what we're discussing. We can't afford to do this project. We were looking at making it accessible, and we're talking about spending it $600,000, and we haven't even moved a stone yet. The project costs don't go up as you go through a project, or go down, they go up. We don't have the money. I think we should talk about a long-term plan about what to do with the library. But this project shouldn't be going ahead. When we first started, it was under 3, then it went to 450, now we're at 6. We can't afford to spend that kind of money to make it accessible. There has to be another way to do that. So, like, I don't know what more there is to discuss on the project. We have the numbers. We had them 3 weeks ago. They're basically what we had in the RFP from the other people. It hasn't changed much. It's a lot of money, and I don't think we have it. So I don't think we should go ahead.
Well, I think I understand exactly where your point is. I had the opportunity to sit in not on one of the interviews. We brought the respondents back in because there was 2 or 3 or each of them indicated that there was options. They've put forward options that were cost savings into knocking this down. And going along with Councillor Lawrence and Councillor Thompson, if we've got that information, you'll see that the committee has be able to digest it a bit before we meet on Monday. So, yeah, to Don and to Mark, yeah, you're ready to make the decision. It sounds like there's a number of other councillors that would like to be able to digest the information and make the formal decision on Monday about that after collecting that information. And just the way that 2 councillors have spoken this evening, I doubt if the information is going to change their mind, but it may give comfort to a couple of the other councillors when they make their decision. Okay? All right. So if you can put those together, and Steve, I know you were here to answer some questions, but I think you've absorbed some information. I thank you for coming out. And are you available again on Monday? I think we'll leave it to either Mark or Carrie or Ken. Okay. All right. Okay. Any other interesting topics you might want to bring up just off the cuff, Carrie? Okay. Any questions of Carrie at this point in time? No? I guess then that moves us down. Who is it? Ken's?
Yeah.
Ken's report. Yep, there we are. Director of Infrastructure and Public Works. And Ken, welcome back. You've been off on holidays for a little bit. Hope that was restful and successful. Restful. Very good. Your first report is on the municipal properties. We have a number of agricultural properties around West Grey, around some of our landfills and whatnot. And we put those out for tender as we said we would, and The report is there. Is there any comments, thoughts? Mark, what do you got?
As council may remember, at the last meeting, there was a presentation from a number of solar power companies, and there was some direction for myself to provide them with a list of municipal lands and buildings that might be suitable for them to look at for any potential Fit 3 program. So we did make that list, and part of that list were these lands that are now before you for discussion for cropland purposes, rental purposes. I did send that to them just very shortly after that meeting. I had one response affirming receipt of it, but I've had no response in terms of any proposal. Whether that means because of the lateness of the issue, or there may be other projects that are further down the road, maybe they're concentrating on. I'm not sure, but I just want to make sure that council is aware that these were some of the properties definitely that were being looked at for solar. So if you rent them for a year, then obviously not available for solar.
Bev? Use. Thank you. Carol's busy there. You don't have your...
Is there any hurry to accept these? Obviously, it's not going to, nothing will happen until March or April, so could this be delayed for a month?
I expect it could. I'm sure they'd be anxious to know whether the two parties that are included in the tender here both agreed to accept the proposal. So, yeah, it could be delayed somewhat, I guess.
Mr. Bell?
Yeah,
John?
yeah, and Councillor Thompson brings up a good point here. As far as preparation of land goes, most guys like to do their tillage work in the fall. I wouldn't leave it any more than a month for sure, but if that helps out, that's fine. But don't leave it into the winter or into next spring, because guys do like to order their seed and stuff in the wintertime, so.
Go ahead, Beth.
So is there any indication as to any sort of information from the solar companies?
No, as I say, there's not. I could follow up with another email. Obviously, we knew the timelines were very tight anyway, and that's certainly maybe part of the equation for their decision on whatever that might be, but I can certainly follow up and see if there's any proposed follow-up on that. I guess maybe a question to Director of Infrastructure. Is there any, on those quotes, there's any time limitation for acceptance in their bids or quotes? Like a 30-day that they offer it? Or probably not, but...
No, there's nothing in there like that.
They're open-ended? Okay. Bev?
And was there a length, a period of time, or is this 1 year?
This is 1 year.
Okay.
With the option of
Renewal.
renewal, yes.
Yes, but if
Agreeable.
something came up with the solars that we thought, well, maybe this particular piece of property would work for that, then we could maybe, all right.
Okay. Mark? No, Mark. Mark.
Sorry. Mark.
Councillor Radke.
Well, I could be wrong, but I thought that in the discussion with the solar companies that the FIT program is more for roof mounted as opposed to ground mounted, and that the possibility of getting ground mounted through was more difficult. So I don't know if this is even going to be...
Well, seeing as we have
I didn't know if that was allowed.
project expert up here, we just had one guy in the front row and we didn't use him in the last discussion, so go ahead, Ram. James. That's it, Rob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When it comes to ground mount is one of the categories that is acceptable for project applications. I have to tell you that given that Solarize is not putting forward at present, we're not envisioning putting forward ground mount. So the ones we're here tonight for are all roof mount, for example. I'm not that familiar with the rules as they apply to ground mount with Fit 3. Having said that, though, I will remind our Director of Operations that we do have information we've received from you, and that, and I wasn't aware that there was a process of tender with respect to the land. If that's the case, we want to be sure that if there's something that we need to respond to give you a yes or no, we get on that right away. I hadn't been aware of this.
Timelines are again in November, they start.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
December 20th.
Yeah, it goes, November to December 20th. Yeah, that's correct, for application for Fed 3. And again, just to be clear, my understanding from last meeting as well was that it wasn't just Fit 3 that's a possibility for the municipality. There's also the possibility of net metering, for which there is no application window you can claim.
Councillor Eccles? John?
For ground mounts, we're talking about such a small amount of ground anyways. So we're talking feet. We're not talking acres. So out of a 35 or 70 acre parcel, we're talking about such a small amount of land that's going to be disturbed. And these are still only approximately acreages that are listed in here. I think we're worrying about something we don't have to really worry about.
Okay. Might change the mind of somebody that wants to rent it if they have a solar panel on there. I don't know. There is, I think you wanted to put forward a motion, Bev, to defer this.
There's nothing introduced. There's no motion introduced.
There's no
Okay.
motion here, so, yeah.
Well, just put it into the minutes that that are deferred to the next council meeting, so we get some further information. Okay? All right. Ken, next one. It's kind of well testing. I think we maybe discuss some of this.
Yeah, we actually just started to do the step test at the well on George Street this afternoon. We have no results yet, so probably by the committee of the whole meeting on a week from today, we'll have more information for council.
Okay. Any other, that's it for Ken. Any other questions for Ken at this time? Did we want to bring up this solar ice guy at this point in time? Or do you want to leave it?
Got two short things. That's on my.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, still in your report. Okay. Any questions for Ken? Okay. Guess that's it. Nothing. Nothing further, Ken. Thank you. Mark, you have a couple of reports here. I can scroll down through them and get to them. One was the proposed dates for the 2014 Council and Committee of the Whole meeting dates. We can get those out. Is there any questions on them at this point in time? I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Council and Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the following 2014 Council and Committee of the Whole meeting dates. Can I have a nod that I don't have to go through every one of these dates? We've all had them.
We want you to read that.
I'm sorry, you're outvoted on that. I've got 7 that said move on. For the most part, it's the first Monday is the day meeting, and the second Monday is, or the third Monday of the month is an evening meeting. Committee of the Whole is the last Monday of the month. There's a couple of slight changes in August because of the long weekend, and in May because of the long weekend, and August to do with AMO. Any questions or comments on those dates? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Well, you're too late now. I asked you if you had any comments on it, and you said no. So, no, 1st of November's in. Yeah, the first Monday of November. Yes, is...
Yeah, I never take account for that. Next one
one's just for
The next one was an information meeting, was, I think, some of the concerns that were heard here this evening, following up on that. The next one, we'd asked for comments back, and Mark, we have James here to talk about solarized. So anything further on the...
Yeah, since the report was done, there's been some emails back and forth between myself and Mr. Collin, and I think there's 5 out of the 8 that were sent before, but you might clarify that. I think there's 3 new. One was a slight variance on the civic address, but the same property.
That's correct. I'm sorry. Mayor, my apologies. There was some confusion with that one address. It was strictly because while the municipal address of the property, basically it's 2 barns on either side of the road. And what we wanted to be sure was that we identified the correct municipal address based on where the project is going to be, and not the municipal address as identified on the assessment roll. Yeah, so it's one of those issues where it's the same property owner, just 2 barns on either side of the road. We just want to make sure that we identified it correctly. So there was a slight correction there. And essentially, this is a request that's exactly the same as the one I brought before council last year. The projects, other than the ones that are new to you, are still all with the same property owner. They're all projects that are going to be on property owned by New Life Mills. As last year, and as I mentioned last week when I was here, the commitment that Solarized Energy's made to ensure the education is there for the firefighters, and the training's there, and the knowledge there, and the cooperation around permitting and the early design work, all those commitments are still in place.
Very good. Any other questions or comments at this point in time from James? Go ahead, Mark.
So if council approves or is in support of the 8 projects, I have one resolution that would authorize the mayor and myself to sign the resolutions 321 to 328, which would be the 8 projects. So there's a Ontario Power Authority formatted resolution that the municipality would sign in support. So this one resolution would authorize the mayor and myself to sign those 8 resolutions.
Okay, so we're all agree with understanding of that. So there's the motion. So I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by John Eccles. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey authorizes the Mayor and Clerk Acting CEO to sign resolutions 321-13 to 328-13, supporting in principle the 8 rooftop solar power facilities proposed by SE1 2013 LP. Any further questions or comments on this motion?
I just want to be certain, as the same as last year, the Ontario Power Authority is very specific with respect to what they are asking councils to do by way of process. I know that it's asking much of and presuming much on the council's time to have each one of these resolutions approved individually. My concern is that in the past, I know that the Power Authority has been clear that when it comes to delegation to staff or modifying the resolution in terms of its language, sometimes they may take that as being insufficient to demonstrate the council's support. I'm happy to receive any resolution that the council is willing to pass, but yeah.
Just to clarify, that would enable the mayor and myself to sign each of these, which is what you want.
Yep, I just want to be sure
Okay.
that we're all on the same page.
Right.
I think we are on this one. Don't ask me which page the provincial government is on at this point in time.
See what the difference, eh?
Okay. Any further comments or questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. So we'll get those signed up at our earliest convenience then, Mark. Thank you very much, James, and we look forward to possibly the intake for municipal and maybe. There are many trailer parks that are available, and we look
at the door.
look forward to you doing that.
That's why she's here. Draining back.
Okay. Anything else, Mark?
Not for my report, then.
All right. Then I guess we're down to bylaws. Let me get to that part of the agenda. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bylaws on.
I'm waiting for the to talk about 78.
Oh, that's fine. We'll start with 67. Okay. The first bylaw we have on the docket this evening is bylaw 67, 2013, dealing with a municipal drain. I have a motion moved by Mark Rapkin and seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that bylaw number 67, 2013, being a bylaw to provide for drainage works and borrowing on the credit of the municipality to complete the drainage works, Shank Municipal Drain 2013, be now read a third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Are there any other comments or questions on this? Bev. Councillor Cunning.
Thank you. I'm sorry I missed the last meeting. I had a family emergency and had to. Were the issues that were brought up in the letter that was sent to us, were they addressed concerning this particular municipal drain?
To my understanding, they have been. They were addressed to the point that everything in the Municipal Drain Act would be concerned, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Don. Councillor Marshall.
I guess if we ever turn this down, it would go to the OMB or that route and we'd lose. My concern is further out there, 5 years from now, if we're the approval of this drain and these dug wells go dry out there 2 years from now, who is liable for that? And are we stepping into a liable issue? Like there's a lot of unanswered questions here that there's going to be 1 or 2 people that are going to gain from this financially, and a lot of neighbors could lose.
Bev, you seem to want to answer.
I was just going to make a comment that is that not the structure though of the age of the Municipal Drainage Act has not yet kind of met the new water rules and water regulations, and it's just a matter of being old legislation that is overriding unfortunately what's happening with water and water systems. And I don't, like at this level, I don't think there's anything we can really do about it, unfortunately. And yes, I think we will be sitting here in a couple of years going, well, I might not be, but somebody will be.
Go ahead, Don.
I agree with you, Bev. I think our fight should be with the Tile Drainage Act and get some experts out there, whether they come from Saugeen Valley or somewhere else, to start studying our water, where our water comes from, how the ground affects it, and If there's changes to be made, then they should be made at the higher levels. How do you do that?
You have another 12 years of your life to devote to that full-time? Because that's what it would take.
Yeah.
And not to seem, you know, there is a number of other municipal drains that we have. Predominantly, they're in Normanby. Do we know of or seen any actions from those at this time? And I'm thinking of one that's just 2 miles down the south, and how that one has come through. And it was put into place 10 years, 11 years ago. And what the experience and the effect has been on that one.
I don't know. You probably, if there's drilled wells in this area or in that other area, if that one dug well goes dry, somebody will come in and drill a well there, and we will never hear about it. It'll just fly under the radar. So we don't know the long-term results of this.
And as I think as Bev said, the 12 years going, you know, what is the direct effect? Was it 13 other wells that were drilled upstream from where somebody tapped into this one? The Conservation Authority at Sulphur Springs 2 years ago, John, when all of a sudden the spring water, the creek turned white. So it was the effect there that in the aquifer, the thought was that it caved in some of the top of it, the sulfur, and it turned the water white for almost a month in that little creek. Didn't do any, you know, that was sampled and everything. There was, you know, no change. It was just what was being dissolved in where the spring was coming from. That something had fallen into it naturally. So they said, there's so much of that stuff goes on, you know, your concern, is the drain going to make a dug well go dry? Possibly, but I'm not certain how you could ever make a direct correlation between the two. Yeah, unless you've got a tile stuck right into the dug well and running the water off type of thing. But other than that, on a municipal drain, I don't know from an engineering perspective how you'd be able to say exactly there's the direct effect.
And that's the problem, is that when the lawsuits start happening, the judge is going to say, well, prove it. And how do you prove it? But if 6 inches of rain falls tonight on a non-tile drain land in a 5 square block, that water is going somewhere. If it's a tile drained, and it's being proven, I believe, that in 20 minutes, from the time it hits the ground to the time it's coming out the end of the tile. If the tile's not there, the water is either running off somewhat into a ditch, off the field into a ditch, or it's seeping down. And it isn't. If it's tile drained, it's not seeping down.
Nope.
It's being drained off. So that's proven. That is a proven fact. So.
But the proof is it all of the water that's drained off, or how much stays there to make that crop grow? Obviously, it's not all of it, because the crop grows that much better on tile drain land. I think it's one that Ms. Cutting has already said, something about, you know, one way you do and one way you don't.
Mr.
A couple of
Mayor.
adjectives she added in there.
Mr. Mayor, I respectfully ask that you would call the vote.
Okay. Yeah, we've debated it. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Okay. We have bylaw number 77, which is a bylaw to rezone lands. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson. I have a seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 77, 2013, being a bylaw to rezone lands described as part of concession 1, part division 3, lot 3, RP 17R751, part 2, former township of Normanby, Varney Inn, Bureen, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. And this one comes from the planning committee, is recommended for passing. Mark, if I'm not mistaken. Any questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Yeah. Okay, bylaw number 78 is to enter into a site plan agreement with the TDL group. And Mark, you have some comments on this before we hear it introduced? Go ahead.
So the bylaw and site plan agreement that was part of the agenda tonight was incomplete because at the time of sending it with the agenda, the TDL group had not completed the registered plan for the parts of the other properties that were going to be incorporated in the original Tim Hortons property, but they had contemplated it being done in time for tonight's meeting, which it was, and they did send it. And I did send you an email, I don't know, about 5 o'clock today when I got into the office and sent it with the correct legal description. At the same time, Ian Johnson, when he reviewed that, has made some more minor housekeeping amendments to it, some wordsmithing and some boilerplating as lawyers speak, nothing substantive, but so it would be a bylaw that would be as amended. However, at the same time, there's also a provision in that site plan agreement bylaw that spoke to it being under site plan control area. The Tim Hortons property, original property, was actually under site plan control back in 2002, and then a site plan agreement for that property was passed. However, there was not a site plan control area bylaw passed by council recognizing the newly formed property and include the other two parts of the property which are now described in the site plan agreement. So I did actually draft tonight before council, the council meeting, an actual bylaw 80, which is a site plan control area to put that property under site plan control, which gives the authority then to pass the site plan agreement. So I would ask that perhaps bylaw 78 be deferred until we get to the direct motion, and I'll introduce with council's approval bylaw 80 to put under site plan control area, and then council could entertain bylaw 78 at that time.
Council in agreement with that procedural process? Very good. The only other way to do is we could do it at first and second and defer it until bylaw 80, but I think in the essence of time and efficiency, we can do it the way Mark has proposed.
To do another motion.
Okay. We have bylaw number 79, which is bylaw to appoint a deputy chief building official. Have the motion moved by Carol Lawrence, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 79, 2013, being a bylaw to appoint a deputy chief building official, Nelson Dolly, PNG, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this motion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Any new business? Mark? No. Addendums? Notice? Addendums or notice of motions? Mark, you have one.
So if with council's approval, I will introduce bylaw 80 of 2013 for your review and comments, if any.
Is there any comments on introducing bylaw number 80? I need a 2/3 majority to introduce a direct motion for the bylaw. All right? Yeah. All those in favor of introducing a direct bylaw? Any opposed? That's carried. I do have the 2/3 majority. Mark? There's the extras for the site plan control bylaw for the properties that we just spoke about. And if you're in agreement, somebody down there, I have a motion to move that. Okay, I have the addendum. Bylaw was moved by John A. Bell and seconded by John Eccles. Be it resolved that bylaw number 80, 2013, being a site plan control area bylaw for lands described as lots 1, 2, and 3 east of the Garifraxa Road, Plan 510, and Lot 3 and part lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 east of Albert Street, Plan 510, part of Albert Street, Plan 510 of the Municipality of West Grey, former town of Durham, County of Grey, more particularly described as being parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on reference plan 16R10-400, be now read a third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And that brings us back then to bylaw number 78 that was deferred until the reading of the addendum. I have a motion moved by Mark Rapke and seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 78, 2013, being a bylaw to enter into a site plan agreement between the Municipality of West Grey and TDL Group Corp. be now read a first, second, and third time, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Is there any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. Is there any need for any more closed session, Mark?
I don't think so.
I think we could, yeah, we'll have a chat about, there are some issues, but that further information collected, and we'll probably see something on the 28th at Committee of the Whole. Question period. We've pretty well wore everybody out, so Adam, are you in need of anything there? There's no, yeah, Adams, yeah, the question is, when are you guys going to finish so I can go home? There's no Municipal Act notices. No questions from council. Mr. Rapke moves that we adjourn. I will accept that. Thank you very much, Mark. We stand adjourned until November the 4th, or a call of the mayor. Thank you very much for coming in this evening and getting the work done.
Thank you.